This week, we're going to be looking at our minion self-portraits again, but this time we're going to be adding value. And so we're going to be adding value, which is you're creating shade on your minion. And as you can see in my example here, and what I'm going to show you in the video today, is we're going to give this shadow that makes our minions look realistic or look like you can actually hold them. And that's what a lot of illustrators do. And in your movies or video games is they add the different shadows. And that's what gives them that really neat personality and like they're showing up. So let's get started on our value and then we're going to move on to our background. So this week we're going to be adding in value. And I know in this video I use oil pastels, and typically if we're in the art room, that's what we would be using. So they're similar to crayons, they're just a little bit more oilier that lets you be able to blend better. I do have a bag of crayons that I have available, so if there are some colors that you're looking for, I can give you those. If you only have markers or color pencils at your desk, you can also still blend and do everything that I am doing in this video using the oil pastels with any of those materials you have at home. So looking at this, you can see that I'm going to start adding in the different values with the oil pastels. And I'm going to show you using this one right here. The first thing that we did is we drew our minions last week in pencil, and then in the video here, I outlined it in black so you could see it better. And here I've got my oil pastels, which again are just a different type of, similar to crayon, but they just blend almost like paints. So I'm going to be using those to show you, and you can just follow along. Color down, and then we put another color on top of it, and they blend, which is very smooth. So the way I describe it is our paper is really, really thirsty. And our paper, once we put the pastel on, it's going to suck in all of that pastel, but you can see a lot of the white showing through of the paper. But then when we take another pastel, like here's my blue, so I'll show you the first thing. So I could continue doing my blue as I go to color it. I have a lot of white showing. And you don't have to push really hard, but you just push enough to be able to cover. So here, you notice that I have the blue, and then I have my white now, and if I do the white over it, look what happens. It blends really nice. Okay? Colors in all of this. Very good. So you see how smooth that looks. Any areas that you want to cover a little bit more, you do that. If you're like, oh no, I did too much white, or I want to add a shadow. So I use that blue. I might use an indigo because I did the darker blue. And my indigo would be really good for giving some shadow to my pants here. So maybe on the bottom I want to make it a little darker, and on the sides. And now it smooths it even more, like this. And maybe near my pocket here, I'm going to give a little bit of a shadow. Like this with that darker color. And that's what's nice about oil pastels. The important thing to remember when you use oil pastels is you want to start with the lightest color first. So you can see originally I started with the yellow. So the reason is if I use my yellow and it touches the blue, I'm going to get a green color. And I don't want to have green on a minion because the most important color is what in a minion? Yellow. No one wants a green minion. So we want to start with doing the face and the arms yellow. And then you can move on to decorating their overalls, their hat, their glasses, and their shoes. You do not, and this is the last thing that you use, the very, very last thing you use is the black. So the first thing that you should do is start with the yellow in the face and then the arms. Now, a habit of mine to make it easier on myself is you want to outline first.
So here I didn't have to outline that much. But then it makes it easier to fill in, as you can see. Don't worry if you had some color on your pastel here, you can just go over and blend in any of those areas. Now I can go in and add the detail. Here, let's talk about blending. When you go to blend and to give some more color to your minion, maybe I want to switch up some of the colors. Maybe I want to do some red in here, right? Some red and then white. So up here, I'm going to outline first. It's always a good habit to outline. And then I'll color it in because I want to do red up here. And I don't want it to be all the darkest red, so I might take my my white, sorry, and then I'm going to just blend a little bit in the middle of this to give it a little bit of a lighter color on the center. Perfect. Now, to do a little bit more blending in the pants, I'm going to take a blue, and I'm going to use a lighter blue than I had started down there. And I outline and then shade in, outline around it, outline around the baseballs that I have in his pocket, outline the top. So, once you have that first outline, you see I have a lot of that white left. You can take your white crayon and you can blend it, which is really nice. And it just makes it nice and smooth. And there you go. So now my pants look done. And I want to go in and maybe add in a little darker color up here. So I use my darker blue, give it a little bit of a shadow. There we go. And I might use my indigo to give it a little bit of more of a shadow on the bottom here. Okay. So for the goggles, I might make that black, but the cap, I might go ahead and just do the blue this way and think about the gloves. So you can continue coloring in as you would like. Again, to give it a little bit more of that depth, I'm going to take a darker blue to give that shadow and just kind of go around the outside edges like this, as you can see here, and that just is going to make the hat stand out a little bit more. So I did that with the black, the dark color here. I maybe want it a little darker here. You don't want to do the whole thing, just a little bit of it. Now I did that in some of the other areas. You can go in. You'll notice I used the white, and the white was a little dirty, and that's how it gave it the white areas that cool color that I was looking for. One other thing to notice between these two, you can see that I blended more on this one than I did blending on this one. You can do either one. If you want to create a little bit of a shadow, like I did here on some of the arms, all you need to do is use the darker color. So we used our yellow. And the next color that's similar to the yellow is this yellow orange. It's not the dark orange, which you see up here, it's a yellowy orange. So when you take the yellow orange out, you can then do that on top of your yellow and just go up and down with it, and you can then see your shadow. So again, you want to do this before you do the black. I outlined the black a little bit earlier, but Maybe if you did it, you would do it near the arm area, closer to the shirt, so you can see that little bit of a shadow. Maybe a little bit here, closer to that part. And then you can do it underneath one of the goggle areas, give it a little bit of a shadow. Definitely up by the hair. I like to do a little bit up here. And you'll see that that just kind of gives it that little extra bit of a shadow. So I might just turn her whole forehead into that color. Just give it that. There. And sometimes I do it by the mouth. And that's all that I probably need to do of using it. The very last color you ever want to use is black. And when you use the black, you're going to go over and outline all of your beautiful marker lines. Try your hardest to go nice and slow. You don't want to rush this part. And that's where you're going to get that really clean look. Okay? So when you do that, it's going to give it that nice look that you're looking for. And don't worry if you mess up a little bit, you can always fix it and take another color on top. That's the nice thing about pastel. Just like that. You'll go over everything. When you go to cut, you want to use the back part, the inside of the mouth, and not the top part. Now I'm only showing you with my fingers where to be with the scissors. Never ever ever have the scissors pointing up in the air or pointing at your fingers. It's very important that you just, if you're working with them, they're always pointing away from you and away from anybody else. And we never walk with scissors. So if you need me, you put your scissors down and I will come over when you raise your hand. But when you go to cut, you have it in one hand is your paper and in your other hand are the scissors. And my favorite thing to tell you about scissors is when we shake hands in school, we don't shake with our fingertips, because when you shake with your fingertips, that's weak. We shake with our thumbs going to our thumbs, and that makes a nice, good handshake. It's the same thing. You have more strength back here in scissors than you do at the top. So you want to, if you have any detail that's close down here, you'll bubble cut. But you're going to start in one area, and basically I turn the paper. So my scissors are always in one spot, but my hand turns the paper. See how my hand with the scissors stays, but the other hand moves the paper. So I'm always moving the paper. I never close the scissors all the way. I'll turn it this way. You can see I get close. But I open and I bring it all the way back, and then I start slowly pushing it down. And I never close it all the way. I open and slide, cut. Open, slide, cut. Open, slide, cut. Now, and you'll notice I'm turning the paper, not my scissors. I'm going to do the other area last when I go to cut. because, and I'm going to go a little faster here, I'm going to trim off a little bit. It makes it easier to do the rest of the cutting. So I'm going to turn my paper, I'm going to hold on to my paper, and I'm going to continue cutting. Remember, I don't close it all the way. I'm going to turn my paper, do the tiny little baby squeezes of cutting. Cut, slide, cut, slide. Now if the paper gets in the way to you and it's too hard to use, cut it off. You don't need it. Again, cut, slide, cut, slide, cut, slide, cut, slide, cut, slide, cut, slide. And this is that really good detail I need to come back to. Now, to get into these areas that are harder, what you'll do is first I'm going to kind of go around. I can trim off a little tiny trim here. But I'm going to go into this area like this. Sometimes you just do one, and then you hold the other area and you come up and you do the other side. Now I'm able to get in there. You see that little piece? So I'm able to come in and I can hold that little piece and then I can cut it off. Very tiny cuts. If it's really, really close like this one, you can just rip it off. For the inside, choose the side that's easiest for you to cut. So I'm going to keep going. Alright, I did one part here. Now, because it's too hard to get in there, I'm going to go back to this area and I'm going to cut around like that. And I'll pull that off. Don't worry if you have a little white left. Now I have another spot. I'm going to come in here, come from the top. And there we go. I can just do a little rip of that because I got close. Don't worry if you rip too much. I have tape to fix. But here we go, and that's how you cut.
Let's talk about our backgrounds. So what you're going to do next, now that we've done and colored in our minions, so here's my minion of me, and here's my other example minion that I did of, my brother loving his cubs. What we want to do is create a background that we're going to use our minions to interact with. So I don't have other minions in here. You can see that this is my art room. I've got my smartboard, I've got my tables, and different things in this room that makes it interactive. What I want you to do today is you're going to get a piece of printer paper and you're going to be able to create your own background. And it could be anything. So I have some minion background examples. You could have a fun, kind of floor and wall. You could have a beach scene. Maybe you want it to be in a playground or a video game that you love doing. You can always have your own video spot that you can create for your minion to play in. I've got the city with the lake and a sailboat. So what's something that you enjoy that you would love to have your minion play in? Is it your bedroom? Is it your minion is cooking banana bread or something fun like that, and you just play with that? Here's another fun image of a tent. So would your minion like to go camping and you have your minion out here, or is your minion enjoying snowboarding or swimming or just different things? So when you get your paper, first thing I want you to do is take out a pencil and you're going to draw light until you get it right. And you guys all know that in my art room, I don't really use a lot of erasers. It's more of, you're drawing very light. You don't worry if your pencil's not sharpened, because sometimes I think that really helps you draw nice and light, that it's easier to erase. If your pencil's very sharp, then it's hard to come off the paper. So just think you're very lightly sketching, and then you'll be able to go over it with crayons and markers. So for me, maybe for my minion here, I am thinking I want the banana bread scene, right? Something fun to do. So I might have a counter or a table for my minion, and see how I'm just kind of sketching some quick lines. I'm using my pencil, which is hard to see in the video. But I'm just doing a couple quick lines, playing with it like this. Have my table. Like a big counter, right? You can have it any way you want yours to be. So maybe I'm going to make this interesting. Maybe I've got like banana legs, because the minions love banana. It could be silly, right? And I'll color these in yellow. They just look like bananas. All right. And then I'll have my minion will be here, but then I need to have an oven, right? As you create your room, just add in lots of different details that makes it come alive. So I added lots of baking utensils and putting a sign in the back that says bananas, and I'm just making it seem like a real room that my minion can interact in. So add in as much stuff as you can, and next week we're going to animate our minion in this. Remember, even if you're not finished coloring in your background or drawing your background, let's take a picture of our minion, and you could also take a picture of your background, and we're going to put that in Seesaw. So that way I can take a look at your work and you can see how you've grown this week. Make sure you go to that activities page and you find the art activity of the Minions Week 2 and click on Add a Reply, and then make sure that you, post that in there for me.